Good evening. Thank you for joining us again tonight. It's Keisha and Randy, and we're doing our Jesus Miracle Scriptures. Tonight, it will be from John 11, 1 through 45. The death of Lazarus. And I will be reading from the NIV version. Now, a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, "Lord, the one you love is sick." When he heard this, Jesus said, "The sickness will not end in death, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it." Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, "Let us go back to Judea." But Rabbi, they said, "A short while ago the Jews there tried to stone you, and yet you are going back." Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daylight will not stumble, for they see by this world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they stumble, for they have no light." After he had said this, he went on to tell them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to wake him up." His disciples replied, "Lord, if he sleep, he will get better." Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. So then he told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe, but let us go to him." Then Thomas, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." Jesus comforts the sisters of Lazarus. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. "Lord," Martha said to Jesus, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she replied. "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world." After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and is asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house comforting her noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him?" But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. That's the title. Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there for 4 days." Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen, and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. That was a good one, a very popular miracle.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
So you had notes on this one, right?
It was packed, and I got a lot of things out of it, but I just jotted down a few. It's to let us know that Jesus has power over death, sickness, over anything that's going on in our life. Nothing is too hard for God. Nothing is never too hard for God. But then he told them that this sickness was for God's glory. Yes. So people can see the power of God being manifested, so they will believe. A lot of times in our life, God would allow us to go through something or call you to do something so people can see his power through your life. And we just have to know when God tells us to do something, or we're going through something and we asking God why. Sometimes God wants to show his glory through us. Yes. And that was this whole ministry about doing the will of the Father and performing these miracles in front of people so they will believe. Even though he was going to get ridiculed about it, some believed, some didn't. But that was his whole point. And it lets us know there's nothing too hard for God. And so Martha and Mary cried out to him for help. Like we have to do in our time of need, cry out to God. He's there. He's always going to be listening because he loves us just like he loved Lazarus. Yes. Mm-hmm. And another point, my last point is, he didn't come right away. Right. That was he didn't come right away. And we all can attest to that one. When we ask God for something we think is urgent, that the matter we're going to die or whatever the circumstances may be, we're not going to make it through it. Yes. And God doesn't come. Like he didn't come right away. So we can all relate to that. But we have to realize and know that God's plans and his timing is always perfect.
Yes, and for the glory of God.
Yes, amen.
Well, this was a long one. We thank you for joining us tonight. We wish you the best night tonight, and may God bless.